You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show. If you have enjoyed our free agency coverage this week, hit that thumbs up icon for me. In today's video, we got some major news and rumors to talk about when it comes to Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. There are reports coming out that the New York Giants sold Drew Lock on signing with the Giants instead of the Seattle Seahawks because he would have a chance with Big Blue to compete for a starting position. Meaning, if he outplays Daniel Jones this summer, he may just be the starting QB for this football team next year. We'll dive into the quotes of the report. We'll tell you maybe why the Giants are not looking to start Daniel Jones this year. We'll compare both players. But first, I want all the real ones to sound off in the comment section for me. Who do you want to be the starter of this team next year? Who's QB1? Type DJ for Daniel Jones, DL for Drew Lock. Dan Duggan of The Athletic, in my opinion, one of the best beat reporters that covers this team. Give him a follow and check out his work. Put this out on Twitter. And he says, Seattle Seahawks general manager John Schneider said on Seattle Radio Row that Y-Man and Bob, that he wanted to keep Drew Lock. But the Giants basically sold him on the opportunity to compete to be the starter. Schneider said that Lock views the situation with the Giants as possibly being similar to Baker Mayfield in Tampa last year. And here we go. This is a major development. There's been a lot of people that have told me, Marshall, it's just a one-year, $5 million deal. And yes, when you look at it in a black and white situation, it is just a one-year, $5 million deal. But there is a reason that on day 2 of free agency, the Giants went out and gave a fully guaranteed contract to Drew Lock. And now we are learning why. Because Daniel Jones may not be ready to play week 1. And also, there's some language in his contract that the Giants may want to hold him out of game action because if he fails a physical in the spring of 2025, that would be very bad news for them in their salary books because they may cut him. But on top of that, Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, they obviously believe that Drew Lock, I can't believe I'm saying this, might be the best quarterback on this roster, and they're going to give him the opportunity to compete and win this job. I want to go to what Dan Duggan, wrote up a couple of months ago, back on December 18th of 2023. Here are the facts. The reason I'm bringing this up, because I could see a situation where the Giants don't want to play Daniel Jones next year because of an injury guarantee in his contract. Here we go. Here are the facts. $23 million of Daniel Jones' $30 million salary for 2025 was guaranteed for injury at signing. Separately, $12 million of Jones' $30 million salary became fully guaranteed if he's on the roster on the 5th day of the 2025 league year. So sometime in mid-March of 2025 will become a crucial deadline if the Giants want to move on from Jones, since they'd want to cut him before that $12 million becomes guaranteed. The injury guarantee will come into play if the Giants want to move on and Jones can't pass a physical. It would have to be a major injury, like the torn ACL he's currently rehabbing, to prevent him from passing a physical in March, thus triggering the injury guarantee. His $35.5 million salary for 2024 was fully guaranteed at signing, which is why there's no chance the team will dump him. The 2025 injury guarantee shouldn't be a major consideration next year unless the team has already decided it's done with Jones, which Retizen said the Giants are done with Daniel Jones. If Jones is deemed the best option, he'll be the starting quarterback in the season despite the financial risk. The injury guaranteed would become an issue later in the season if the Giants are out of contention and they plan to move on from Jones. At that point, they could bench him to protect themselves from potentially getting stuck with the $23 million charge from the injury guarantee. That's what the Raiders did with Derek Carr at QB, and that's what the Denver Broncos did with Russell Wilson. So what do they do with that in mind? And maybe just the thought that Daniel Jones is not that guy. They go out and sign Drew Lock, and they tell him that you are going to have an opportunity to come in and compete for this football team. Also, Pretty Ricky on Twitter, not the Pretty Ricky, but the guy that's pretty much been breaking all the news, says, not shocked by the recent reports the Giants are concerned about Daniel Jones' injury history, durability, and recovery. Makes it easier to have him hold a clipboard all season, which is what they want, while saving some face. Also, Shane sold Lock on having a Baker-type role. Sounds like they still draft a QB, and the QB room isn't full yet. What does that tell me? Daniel Jones might not play football for this team. And when you look at what Drew Lock's done as a starter in this league, the guy can sling the pill. You go back to the 92-yard game-winning drive Drew Lock had against the Philadelphia Eagles, where he threw for 208 yards and a touchdown and a QB rating of 94. The week before, against the San Francisco 49ers, 22 of 31, 70% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, did throw 2 interceptions. He's a guy that's a gunslinger. One thing that I have always loved about Drew is that he's not afraid to push the ball downfield. And we know that's the type of offense that the Giants want to run. You go back to the end of the season, Tyrod Taylor threw the ball deep multiple times to Hyatt, to Slayton, to 70-yard and 80-yard touchdowns. And when you look at the big-time throw percentage for Drew Lock, that's at 5% for his career. Daniel Jones, his big-time throw percentage, just 3. He likes to push it downfield. And I think the Giants have come to the conclusion that Daniel Jones, whether he got a fair shake at it, whether he was put in the best situation or not, no matter what the excuse, which is maybe not the right term to you, whether the reason he's been bad, you can argue that till we're blue in the face. I think they've come to the conclusion that Daniel Jones is not a starting quarterback in this league if you are trying to compete for championships. I know what he did in the Minnesota game. I stood right here, and I cheered my ass off for that Minnesota game. You can go watch my live reaction. I thought it was a decent contract at the time. We were wrong. It's okay. The worst thing you can do when you make a mistake, though, is double down. And that's what I'm starting to like about this regime. They are realizing their mistakes and they are moving on. I don't see a situation where Daniel Jones starts all 17 games for the season. Whether that's because he's hurt, whether that's because he's benched, or whether that's because it's Drew Lock or another quarterback, I think the days of the Giants having a locked-in quarterback at that spot are over. And I think it's going to come down to competition, who else on this roster, and what they want to do with the guaranteed money that comes with the injuries. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, though, because if any more news or information come out about this subject, we're going to get you guys a video as soon as possible. We just crossed over 44,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for that. If you haven't subscribed, change it. If you have subscribed, drop a real one down in the comment section. I just want to recap everything the Giants have done so far through free agency. They got started with the special teams department, signing Casey Kreider, the long snapper, and they bring back Gunnar Olszewski, one of my actually favorite moves of the offseason for the Giants. The punt returner position for the last 2 years has been horrible. Gunnar Olszewski, he solves that problem. Carter Coughlin, another free agent guy, special teams guy, was a free agent. Coming back to this team, good player, going to provide some depth and some competition in that linebacker room, and he's been there for a while. Jermaine Illuminor, I feel like, is one of the most sneaky signings in free agency. I feel like he was one of the better free agent linemen that were available, and I feel like the Giants got him at a steal. I think it's one of the best deals of NFL free agency. He's already made himself a fan favorite with the way he's talking about this organization. I'm excited about it. You make the move of the offseason, though, in my opinion, by adding Brian Burns. He's a real deal player. That's why you're playing a real deal price. He's going to change life for this defense. They also get Drew Lock on a 1-year, $5 million deal. Then you bring in some veterans that are going to have to compete to make this roster. They've had some success in their career. Jalen Mills, the do-it-all DB, at this point more of a safety, more of a run-stopping guy. He'll come in and compete with a young safety room. Then Isaiah McKenzie has those ties to Brian Daboll and Joe Shane dating back to their Buffalo Bills days. Has some punt returner and kick returner ability as well. Shifty wide receiver, a generator with the football in his hands, brings more bodies to this room because they are thin there, as potentially Isaiah Hodgins is also not going to return to this team. The Giants making some moves. Have about $4 million in cap space left, can create an additional $25 million in cap space by restructuring Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence. Anything happens, I'll make sure to keep you guys up to date on my social media. So follow me over there, hit the thumbs up on the way out, and let's go Big Blue.